Good afternoon. This is Al Otero, the president of the Global Trade Chamber. We're here in Florida, but we're connecting companies around the world for almost 15 years. So this is an exciting time for us since we have launched a number of platforms to enable companies to connect, enable companies to learn, and to find new clients in local and international markets. So it's a very good year past pandemic. And now we're going to be introducing our 100 Successful Women in Business Network. It's a platform where women are going to be able to connect all over the world, learn from each other, encourage, inspire other women. And it's a fantastic, unique platform for women in business, women entrepreneurs, women thinking of starting a business, and women that are in charge of organizations around the globe. So this is exciting. Be ready for the big launch, and that's coming up in the next few days. We also are introducing our new Successful Women magazine. It is a weekly magazine written by women. It is filled with information from women from many industries, mentors, coaches, people that are going to inspire and teach you, but they're also going to share their unique stories of triumph over great odds and adversity. This is a great magazine that's going to be available in September. It's our first issue. It'll be weekly, and it's going to really be a fantastic tool to promote your product, service, or company. So that's the Successful Woman magazine. We already have the GTC magazine that we've been producing for maybe half a year or more. That's been extremely successful, and that's monthly. The other exciting thing is that we're going to be launching the GTC TV station, where we're going to have our own programming for the chamber and the successful women on a global scale on Roku, which is a huge platform, and also on Amazon Stick, so the Fire Stick. So you're going to have amazing tools, unique, to reach people and to inspire and to learn. So this is some of the exciting things that are coming up from the GTC and from the Successful Women Network. Every week, we have webinars by amazing people that are going to inspire, teach you, and give you information that are going to help you succeed in your personal and business lives. And this is so important right now that people are looking for new ways to connect and grow their organizations. And today's webinar is sponsored by Mendez University, which is out of Puerto Rico, but has students around the globe, and is one of the oldest universities in anywhere. It's a third generation, a great university, online courses, bilingual courses, unique platform to educate yourself or your children at all levels of higher education. Today's special guest is Dr. Angel Pagan. He is in Puerto Rico. He'll be talking to us from Puerto Rico at the campus of Mendez University. He has been teaching and making critical and philosophically accessible the philosophy accessible to all who want to move forward in their thinking skills. So your critical thinking and philosophy, you need to know more about that so you can be more effective in communication. And it's going to help you move in all of your skills, whether it's personal or business skills. He has a master's degree in philosophy from Cleveland State University and a bachelor's degree in English literature and linguistics from Universidad Central de Bayamón in Puerto Rico. Mr. Pagan is an adjunct professor at University Ángel Mendez. Through seminars, creative activities, and performances, he has created private and public spaces for critical and creative thinking engagement through open dialogues. Today's webinar is titled honing on your communication skills, logic, language, and getting the message through. So we're very excited and happy to have Professor Angel Pagan. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited, and at the same time, I'm a little bit nervous because to me, this is something that is so important and so great for us to develop. That there's so many things that I wish we could sit down all and have a conversation, a dialogue. So hopefully that's going to happen. So honing on your communication skills. And by the way, there are many things that we could do. Let me tell you a little bit of who I am very quickly. What I try to do all the time is I'm trying to look at the world, reality, what's going on. And I'm trying to see if I could understand reality for what it is. I was born in New York City. I grew up in Puerto Rico, and then I went back to the States and lived in the States for some years. I got married. I've been married for 20 years. And marriage is one of those things that teaches you that sometimes we have to, instead of having a discussion, we need to have a dialogue. We need to listen to each other. And I'm sure that most of us have that experience, that we see things in a way, but the other person sees it in another way. So I have learned through my
Every
life.
day.
Yes. So we need to be able to listen to the other. I know that sometimes it's kind of hard, but my mission is to engage in meaningful dialogue that will get us closer to truth and effective understanding of reality. And that sounds like a mouthful right there. But really, what I'm trying to do is see if we could actually touch reality for what it is, and that way we could be effective in our efforts. Because I think your mom and my mom and your dad and somebody said to you once, you need to accept what's going on. You need to accept reality. And you could change it, but first you need to know what it is. You need to accept that reality. You need to be able to look at it for what it is. And that way you could actually make changes. Some of us are in business. Some of us are in education. Some of us are in different things in art. But we need to be able to comprehend what surrounds us in an effective way in order to make changes with our efforts in whatever field, in whatever area that we want. So a little bit of the agenda. Go ahead.
No, I just had a little experience this week that a gentleman came to me and started explaining to me about his great platform and tool online to help people. At the end of the conversation, I had no idea what he was talking about. And I said, "You're talking Chinese to somebody that has no idea about your industry." And you know how many times I've run into this?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's a great example right there. Sometimes we are clear on what we think, but that does not mean that we are able to communicate what we think effectively, so the other would understand what we're trying to say. And one of Protagoras' challenges is, can we get our message through? Protagoras, one of his quotes said, I'm sure that I'm changing it a little bit, but one of his quotes say, one thing is what happened, the event, the phenomena. Another thing is how I experienced the phenomena. And then another thing is what I say, communicate to the other person about whatever happened. And then still something different is what the other person understands. So we need to able to improve the way we have dialogues to see if we could actually communicate effectively the messages that we're trying to convey to the others, and hopefully all of us on this activity right now are people who are bringing good things to the world, to business, to art, to education. And those ideas, those efforts, those messages have to be experienced in an effective ways. If not, they are going to get lost, what you're trying to bring. The other thing is, how do we identify fallacies as we exchange ideas? What are the things that we fall for, that we think that we know, but actually it sounded really good, but it didn't say anything at all? like you just said in your example. That sounds like you know what you're talking about, but it doesn't sound like you could actually transmit it,
Exactly.
you know? So one of my challenges in philosophy, which is my field, and I love it. I'm in love with philosophy, and to the point that my wife is a little bit jealous. Philosophy is what human beings have in order to understand those questions that cannot be answered by a simple yes or no, black or white, right or left. Philosophy is asking the hard questions that don't have a final answer, but that we need to make decisions on. So, to make the right choices and things like that, we need to be able to use reason and information, but at the end, the last saying, the last choice is ours. We need to be the ones who decide on very important things. And when I say very important things, I mean things that we face every day. Should I risk opening this new business?
Yeah.
Should I open up this store here? You have information, you get data, you put it together, but there's always risk. And you need to be aware of that risk, and you need to be aware of the fact that you have to be able to manage whatever is it that you're going to do. And you do that by using the information and then putting together reasoning and coming out with, okay, I'm going to do this way, because that's the best way that I could do with information that I have.
Would you say that it's very important also to get maybe a third person to give you a different perspective? That's where philosophy might come in.
Philosophy actually would invite dialogue with, for example, a third person.
Right.
And the challenge there is to make sure that third person is someone that you consider knowable enough
And the
to
topic.
be able, right, to be able to be involved in the conversation. And our parents told us that. They told us, be careful who you listen to.
Yeah, it's true.
You need to decide, you need to use criteria in your thinking to decide who I need to listen to open up a business here, for example. One thing that I learned is that the fact that I love books, I love reading all the time. I'm always reading something. The fact that I love books does not make me a bookseller.
Right.
So one thing is to love to sit down and read a book, and another thing is to open a bookstore. So,
Well, it even goes down to the personal relationships. Should I get married to this girl or not?
Oh, yes.
That is the biggest challenge in life. And people go to the altar and change their minds at the altar. I've seen it.
And those questions and those answers are not in any manual or in any book that you could say, well, this book says that I should get married. Mm-mm. Those are answers that you need to come up with as you make decisions in your life. And there is no right or wrong. You have to make choices, and hopefully you're using reason and critical thinking when you're doing that.
The most important thing, because of COVID, has been the awareness of people of communication, because they had to communicate more. They didn't have a choice. So being around people and not being able to go to work, you were forced to be talking to people, but you don't have the skills to do it well. So your topic today is the perfect timing, because all the people that don't have a job and are trying to start a business, they need to know how to make the right decisions to start the right business. So you are the perfect person for this time. So I want to give you a presentation. I'm excited.
Thank you. So the other thing is that you need to avoid using emotions, load your messages with emotions, because although emotions are important, I'm not saying that they're not important. It's important that we are able to differentiate between making a deal with someone and actually, getting upset or getting angry or doing something that we shouldn't because we don't like this person, that kind of a thing. And we're going to talk about that. And then at last, we're going to talk about definition of words, which is very important. We need to know what that word means. And if we're not clear, you and I are not clear on what the word means, then we need to clarify first, what do we mean by investing on this? So
Yes.
when you say, I want to invest with you, all right, let's sit down and write down what is it that you mean by investing. Are we going to go 50-50? Are you going to do this work and I'm going to do that work?
Right.
One thing is to just say invest, but that could be, it could be many things. So it's important that we know our definitions. Immanuel Kant, one of my favorite philosophers, and I don't know what I should say here. Let me tell you, I wouldn't recommend you to read the Critique of Pure Reason. It's 700 pages long. And when I read it, I think I understood maybe 20% of it or less. However, that 10% was so fascinating that it was worth it. And I'm going to read it again. Immanuel Kant became my favorite philosopher, right there with Jean-Paul Sartre.
Oh, here we go.
Immanuel Kant was trying to understand the world for what it is. And I am not going to go into details with this, but let me share this with you. Space and time are the framework within which the mind is constrained to construct its experience of reality. Whoa. Space and time. Everything happens within space and time. And again, I'm not going to go deep into that. But what I want you to know is that we have a subjective view of the world. Each of us sees the world in a totally different way. Yep. Neuroscientists have just discovered that each person experiences a color. Let's say that we're talking about green, the color green. Although you and I agree that that thing is green, we experience green in different ways. So Immanuel Kant figured that out before we had the science behind it to back it up. He just backed it up with arguments and reasoning. And he said, we human beings understand things by using space and time. If I'm going to open up a business, I need to know how long is it going to take me to make money out of this business, because maybe the first 2 years I'm going to have to live. I still stay working wherever I work and do my business, and it's going to be a lot, which means that I need to face that reality. And that reality, I could understand it if I actually put it down somewhere in writing and say, look, I need to be able to do this here. I'm going to need this here. So one thing is to have that will to go forward with our dreams and our ideas. And the other is to put it down together and say, okay, this is what I need. This is the framework that I need. This is the project that I need. I need to build it. So Da Vinci had maybe the Mona Lisa in mind, but he knew that he needed paint. He needed some mixture of things. He needed a canvas. He needed to do it within a certain amount of time. So that had to be done within a real experience. The idea was awesome, but that had to be done within a real experience. Reality enforces itself on us. So whatever project we put together, we need to know that that project has to be done within reality. Logic and language are awesome, are fascinating, but are tricky. Be careful. Somebody might want you to just see things the way they see them. And it's nice, but you never will. You always see things the way you see them. So what we're trying to see is convey messages and see if together in a dialogue, not in a debate, but in a dialogue, we listen to each other and we're able to say, well, you know, I disagree here, or I agree here, or I think we could do it this way. But the important thing is to present the reasons why we agree or disagree in whatever it is that we do. So be careful. I know that sometimes, for example, we like to say things like, I know how you feel because I've been there. And it sounds nice because you want to be nice. But what you're actually trying to say is, I know whatever you're experiencing is hard, but the truth is that we do not know exactly how the person feels. So just some advice that my mother gave me once, just give them a hug and say, I'm here for you, you know, and hopefully they're going to use that. But it's important that, for example, when you're trying to sell an idea to someone, it's important that you be as clear as you can to make sure that this idea was interpreted the way you were expecting. Because one thing is to have an idea, and another thing is to be able to transmit that idea effectively if you want some type of results. And one of the things that is fascinating to me is, like you were saying at the beginning, the most important questions in life. Ah, Science cannot tell you if we match with someone, we're about to get married, or and then eventually we ended up getting divorced, or I just met this person. I wonder if this person is right for me, etc., etc. Like, should I, for example, when we are opening a business or something like that, we're getting information. We get information. We see, well, okay, so this location, is it good? Are people looking for this product in this place? What kind of people live around here? Do they have the money that I need them to have in order to purchase this? Da, da, da. Those questions, you could get data. Yes, the data is out there, but still there's a risk. There's no final answer.
No.
And you've seen it. You've seen it around. You've seen business that looked really nice. The idea was really cute, but it did not work. Think about many of the devices that Steve Jobs put together with Apple. And they would come out and it looked cute, but it didn't work. Some of them were awesome. And that's why we keep trying. But we need to be able, yes, we need to be able to understand that philosophy is there in order to help us in the decisions we have to make, and for which we don't have a final answer. Science tells you that the law of gravity is there, and you cannot just violate the law of gravity, and that's a natural law, and that's it. But philosophy helps you to improve the way you think critically in order to make decisions that don't have a final answer. That's why I think philosophy is very important, and that's why I think philosophy should be accessible to everyone. I think philosophy should be in schools. I'm working hard to make sure that we bring philosophy to schools, to the schools. So if we have a way of communicating our ideas, if we are able to get our message through, we are going to be able to connect. Although we come from different backgrounds, we live in different ways, sometimes we come from different cultures.
Yes.
And diversity is one thing that we have to keep in mind, because you want to be able to offer whatever is it that you want to offer to people in a way that is respectful to everyone, in a way that is accessible to anyone, in a way that everyone would feel that in one way or the other, they actually identify with whatever is it that you're bringing. And I think that we need that. We need to provide opportunities for diversity to express itself in our efforts. That's so, so, so important. And by the way, philosophy was born because of diversity. Philosophy was born because different people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, met in Greece at a moment that it was key. Greece was like New York City, at that moment. And you have different people from different backgrounds trying to do business. If you're trying to do business, they were not trying to convince each other on what to believe, what faith to have. No. They were trying to do business. So if they were trying to do business, they had to find a common denominator in language and thinking. So when they found that common denominator in language and thinking, diversity helped the process of growing the critical thinking skills that we all call philosophy today. So diversity is good for us. Diversity is good for business. So we need to be up to a certain point aware of that. Now, we need to be careful. We need to be careful because sometimes as we exchange ideas, by the way, I'm sorry, let me pause for a second. Anyone has any comments or suggestions, ideas, or questions?
Yeah, right now it looks like everybody's paying attention, so we haven't got anything yet. But
Okay.
the thing is to understand that, like you said earlier, science is not the answer to everything. That is so important because everybody goes to the
Yeah.
statistics, the numbers, everything, but they don't take into consideration all of the things that are not measurable. How would this culture feel about this type of food in their community? Doesn't know.
Yes.
So this is a
Yes.
very important part of all your decision making. And it's no
Yes.
different in the personal relationships, like we said earlier. You have got to know how your wife or future wife is going to feel about you going out every Friday, for example. What doesn't
Yeah.
nowhere in science or in any book. It's things that you have to consider and address before. How many children does the lady want? So you don't. I know people that are practically breaking up because one wanted one and the other one wanted three children. Never discussed it. That's all philosophical. So
Yeah.
I'm learning. So hopefully it's better to.
Awesome. I'm learning too. I'm learning too, because in the process of sharing a little bit of these ideas with you, I want you to know that I'm just like you all, wanting to learn more. And as I ponder these ideas in my head, I'm trying to make sure that everything that I want to communicate with you is clear enough. And maybe it won't be sometimes, and that's why it's important that you stop me and say, well, wait a minute, what do you mean by X, Y, or Z? And one thing that you just said right there, yes, these questions are not just answered by science. I mean, for example, if I throw out a question, this is going to be interesting. If anyone wants to take a shot of it, um, when you meet someone and you say, well, I think that we have something going on, and somebody says in that arrangement, somebody says, I love you. Oh, wait a minute. What do you mean by love? So
Yes,
we need to now define, which is it's kind of, it's challenging
very
because each of us has a perspective on what we mean by love. And philosophy, the only thing that philosophy is doing rare is not providing an answer. It's providing a process of thinking critically to make sure that whenever you say, this is what I mean, you're aware that the other person might not mean the same thing. So the process of critical thinking is asking us to do that. We lived in a very what's the word in English, chauvinistic, macho type of society. The world is changing, and I'm so glad.
fast
But
and furious.
yes. And I'm so glad that we see more involvement of different people from different backgrounds. We
Yes.
see more women in charge of what they are doing, because
Mhm.
these ideas are moving forward what we call society, the economy, and all these things. We see more female and minority leadership,
Yes.
and we need to be able to provide. I'm so glad that you guys made me part of this, because this is something that is good. We're
Yes.
moving
Great.
forward toward, I think, what is an improvement of what we have. We need to improve. We need to make this a little bit better, and we could do it. And we live in a country that provides for that.
Yeah,
So,
it's unique.
yeah, we have great ideas. We have, I think, great opportunities, and we need to make sure that whatever these ideas can bring to that, my mother would say, soup. Let's put it together. Let's put together these ingredients and make.
I have a
Now, the
question
problem
for
is,
you. I got
go
a
ahead, go
question
ahead.
for you. How does
Yes.
philosophy help entrepreneurs to manage employees? Very good question.
Whoa, that is awesome. That
Excellent.
is awesome. That's why this is huge. Is huge. Let me see. I'm gonna try to think about a situation. Okay, let's see a situation here. I have an employee who says, "I think that Angel is not, participating, helping us in the work. So most of the work I end up doing it, you know."
Yep.
And let's say that I'm the manager. I'm the manager here, and I go, "Okay, you think that Angel? No problem. Let's talk to Angel. Let's see. So what do you mean by he's not helping?" Well, I mean that whenever we were doing X type of activity, he wasn't there, you know? And you ask some specific questions to make sure that whatever this person is saying to you is something that is good, is reliable. I think the person is telling you the truth. And then you could ask, so why are you bringing this up? Well, because maybe this person says to you, that's actually the best employee, you know. The person says to you something like, well, because I'm concerned about the mission of this company, and this person is not representing the mission of this company with that type of attitude or whatever. And then each of us, again, would have to approach these things depending on the circumstances of the reality you are in. But I would approach Angel or the employee and say, look, I have this concern. Some people are worried about you not participating. Can you tell me what's going on? And we need to be able to listen. I mean, again, it depends on the circumstances and the situation. But in I would say, quote, normal circumstances, I want to make sure that I listen to the different parts, like we do in law. In law, you have to listen to different parts and try to see who's telling you the truth, what information you have, and then you have to weigh that information and see. You have to make a decision. Ethical decisions at work. You have to make so many ethical decisions so many times, depending on the type of business that you're doing. Should I not provide all the information in order to sell a product? That's not a very good idea.
That's unethical.
Although, go ahead.
Yeah, not ethical. People do that all the time. So forth. They oversell and underdeliver.
Yes, and we need to be able to make sure that we stand behind whatever is it that we're doing. So it's totally unethical to say, well, I could do this job in 2 days when you actually know that it's going to take you 2 weeks just to get the job, just to get what they would say in my business of music, the gig. It's not right. It's not right. And the problem sometimes is that there are things that are legal, but it doesn't mean that they are right. Some of us might decide that we want to open up a smoke shop. We want to sell cigarettes, and we want to sell cigarettes that are next to a school. And it might be, it might be legal,
but not ethical.
But it's not right. So again, whatever community you're going to serve, with your business, I think it's important that we know this community and we respect that community. And when I use the concept respect, we need to be able to understand what we mean by respect, and that way, whatever business we're trying to bring to this community. Let me give you a quick example. I live in Puerto Rico, and all these companies that we have in the mainland in the United States, most of them are here, Burger King, all these fast food places, but they have to adapt to the culture, including the food, because you want to, in a way, respect the place that you're in and provide for the people you're serving. So, and by the way, I used to live in Texas, and the Texas that I met in Austin, it was different from Florida. The type of business that was set up and the way they actually had their customer service methods, they were different because the community is different. And it's not that some are right and some are wrong, it's that they're just different. So diversity. Philosophy has many fields, ethics, metaphysics.
Let's make a list. I love that. Ethics.
It's got metaphysics. Metaphysics is one of my favorites. It's kind of, it's challenging. For me, it's challenging. Maybe you guys would just love it right there. But philosophy has ethics. It has metaphysics. Metaphysics is trying to understand what is real. For example, think about this. When you say, this is a good product, what do you mean by good? And then try to come up with, let's say, attributes or qualities that you would say that this product has. Think about the way they sell, or you guys sell within your business, things like a car. When we sell a car,
example.
We don't say this car is fast and that's it. No, 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 no. We say things like respect, honor, authenticity,
Right.
unique, and those are values. Those are philosophical values.
I came out of the car industry for many years, and the whole concept of late years has been don't sell the car, sell the benefit to the client of the car. So if you have a family, that you have to listen philosophically to what they want. Don't say, I have this car, it goes 200 miles an hour, and it has two seats. When the guy has a family of five, and they do that all the time. So that's really going beyond the technical aspect of the vehicle. The guy wants to go fast. Why are you going to sell him on gas mileage if this guy wants a fast car? So this is
Yes.
all philosophy. It's nothing to do with what you want to sell. I think the main thing that I pick up from you immediately is that people think of a product or a service and your features of that product or service. But you're not thinking of what the client benefit is of the product or service. And that has been a huge problem because people buy the thing because it's a good salesman, and then they take it to the office or to the home. This isn't what I need. So that killed the company, the product, and future business or referrals. So I think
Yes.
one company that did a fantastic job, and I'm sure you remember, Saturn Automobiles. They
Oh,
completely
yes.
turned the industry upside down, where they built cars for the client. They didn't build
Yes.
cars they just wanted to sell to get them off the line, but they built cars that people liked because it felt good, smelled good, it was affordable, it was practical, economical. The industry has
Yes.
never done that before. I want to sell you a $70,000 Porsche when you have a family, you want an SUV. So that is all philosophy. I think that's exactly good.
Yes, and basically, the porch and the minivan are cars. However, the values that get me to get the minivan are family, comfortable, etc. And those are choices that I make. I
Exactly.
might have the money for the porch, but when I'm thinking, I want to be with my family, I want this car for the whole family. This is a value. And the values are what we study in ethics and aesthetics. We're trying to decide what is it that calls me when I want to purchase whatever it is that when I want to purchase. Now, if I wanna be fast, if I want to look good in my car, if I want people to look, well, I'll go for the Porsche. Why? Because the values that I've chosen that are important for me are those. It is not so much about the thing itself, it's about the ideas that the things bring to the people that you're selling it to.
Yes,
And
that's
and
the
think
one.
think think about think about the fact that McDonald's
Yes,
sells you a happy meal. It's just nuggets and fries, but think about it. It comes in a box.
that's
It
right.
comes in a
That's right.
cardboard box, but they call it a happy meal
What a
because it's
great
for kids.
example.
And think about it. Happiness. Can we try to define happiness? That's also a philosophical question. What is happiness? Well, the good thing is that everybody's searching for it. That means that if I put a product there that says happy something, people want it because we want to be happy, don't we? So,
What is this?
and
I just had a question for you. What are the
yes,
steps to making a good decision?
first see what's the reality you're confronting here. What is it that is there? What do I One thing is my wishful thinking, and another thing is what is real about this situation. And then let's see how my goals, what I want to accomplish, fit within that reality. One of the things that philosophy is able to do is approach that reality without losing your goals and your ideas or anything. I'm not saying put away your ideas. What I'm saying is make sure that you are able to build those ideas within a real framework.
Got it. Now,
Instead
what
of,
about the steps to delivering the right message, especially for business people? That is such a problem.
first, I would say understanding your clients.
I love
First is understanding who you want to reach. Who are the people you want to reach? And that's key. I mean, the fact that you love something doesn't mean that others love it too.
that's right.
So, do these people need this product? Or let's say that your product is new, it's something that nobody has tried before, and which is really hard when you think of it. Most of the products that you have out there are just different ways of representing
Variations of
things.
the same.
Yes, yes. So, why would I choose your product instead of that product? Well, sometimes it's just a matter of approaching people. It's a matter of knowing what people want and understanding and identifying the values that those people share. And that way you could share those values and say, look, you like or you enjoy or you respect this thing, and I provide a product or service that actually goes toward that.
The one thing that I think it comes right to the business is whenever you're launching, and I see this a lot in franchises. There's franchising every day opening up, new every type of franchise. One of the things they talk about is market research. Market research is actually talking to people and the philosophy behind your product and the response. People don't realize that market research, I just learned that today, is philosophy because it's not, you're not adding numbers, you're simply communicating information, asking the feedback that is pure philosophy. I never thought of it that way.
When you build up your decision, whatever decision you're going to get to, whatever your conclusion is, whatever your goal is going to be, it has to build on an argument that you need to think through and make sure that is solid and valid. That that argument is within real constraints that you could actually accomplish. One thing was for Martin Luther King to say there is injustice, to say this is not right in the 60s with the
Yep.
civil rights movement. And another thing is to say, not only do I say that, but actually I could show to you that this is wrong. And with my actions, I'm going to demonstrate that this is wrong, to the point that Martin Luther King was open to break the law. He
He
broke
did.
the law
He did.
because the law was wrong. He
Exactly.
said the value of the human being goes beyond any man's law. So if there's a law
Amazing.
that violates the value of the human being, we're messing something. We need to change that.
Yeah. So
And
think
that's
it's
why
curious. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I know. I think that's why it's important that whenever you present your argument or whenever you listen to somebody's argument, be careful with the ideas that they try to sell to you. This is a quote from Plato. It's true. Plato says, arguments, just like men, could be deceiving. Careful. And sometimes we are deceiving not because we want to lie, but because we don't have all the information. I'm going to open up this business right here in this community. Why? Well, because my family had a business here before, and we want to have businesses here in this community. That's fine. That's a nice idea. Make sure that the business that you are going to open is a business that this community has, because communities change,
They do.
people change, people move. So you need to go back to the data, and after you go back to the data, you determine if whatever is it that you want to do within that community is something that that community will support or need, you know. So don't fall for certain things, because sometimes I love that image. Sometimes a person, you might not like a person, for example. You might say that, so Angel Pagan, he's always saying stuff, and by the way, I don't like those glasses that he wears. And bald guys, these bald guys, I don't know, I got something. However, sometimes that person you don't like might say something that is right. I didn't mean that to rhyme. I swear, I didn't mean that to rhyme. But sometimes a person that you might not agree with might have something to tell you. So we need to be critical. We need to be critical thinkers whenever we're listening to ideas. So somebody might say to you, you know, opening that business there might not be a good idea. And you have, and then you could take it in many ways. You could
Sure.
say, well, this person is just, they don't like me and they don't want me to be here or something. Or maybe that person is actually telling you something that is truth. So you need to be able to distinguish the idea from the person. You need to be able to, and that's what you do in philosophy and critical thinking.
Earlier, you mentioned to be careful where you get your advice. And I'll give
Yes.
you a perfect example of that. And I just talked to a group about this last week. Is people come here from all over the world to the United States. They want to start a business. And the first thing they do is they call their cousin. They has no idea about business. So the cousin says, buy this business. It's going to be great. And they do this all the time. I should go talk to an attorney. I should go talk. No, don't waste your money. I'm going to give you great advice. Happens every day, all the time. It is unbelievable. So you have to really think of who you're getting the advice from.
And the message is not getting through the right message.
No.
Why? Because your cousin is telling you what he thinks is great with
Yeah.
whatever information he has. The problem is that that person is just see, the person might not be trying to lie to you. They might
No.
actually think that, you know, and they say to you, no, this is a good thing. And it's important that you ask. In philosophy, the most beautiful question in the world is why.
Why? I love that.
Why you think that?
The why of
Why
everything.
do you, why do you think is a good opportunity to open up this business here? Why do you think that I should wait a little bit? Why do you think that I should study maybe the demographics of the area?
Yes.
Why, you know, and that's when you actually get to good information. Now, remember this, good information doesn't mean that the problem is solved. Good information means that at least I'm informed and I have the tools to then put together a critical thinking process and actually say, I think this is a good idea. But still, there's a level of risk. And you
I
need to
think that's,
always
that's
know
called,
that you
opinion.
need to.
People give you their opinion based on nothing. Opinion
Yes.
is such a dangerous thing. Opinion.
Plato, yes, Plato said, he called it doxa, D-O-X-A. And Plato said, be careful, because people are always willing and open to tell you what they think about everything. That
Yes.
does not mean that it's true.
Well, let's
So,
go back to your presentation so we don't mess up. How many slides do you think we have?
I think we have, 5 minutes. We're going to be
Oh, that's
done in
fine.
5 minutes.
I already had a
Apple-
question that how
Yes.
can you avoid loading your messages with no emotions? How can you
Oh, there
present?
you go.
Oh, it goes right to your slide. How can you
Yeah.
present something with no emotions?
Yes, that's very important, because you want to make sure that whenever you're trying to say something, for example, I focus on things. Whenever I'm doing something specific and I want to do it right, I focus, you know. And then somebody might say, you know, he's just stubborn. He's into this thing. So there's a negative aspect of something that might be positive. We need to make sure that whenever we're bringing up an idea, we're not saying things that are just based on our emotions, like opinions.
Right.
Why shouldn't I open a business there? Well, because I don't like that community. I don't like that place. I don't care about that place. You know, I used to live there. And you are making a decision based on your emotions and not on information. And again, you're free to do so, but you need to be careful, because those decisions that you're making have risks, and those risks are going to come back to you. And eventually you have to decide what is it that you're going to make, but it has to be through reason. Why do we want to get our message through? Because we want to make sure that we don't fall into a mess of messages. And maybe our message, which was good, it didn't go through. Remember that people find themselves in certain specific circumstances They have a very subjective perspective of the world, and there are certain concepts that they actually understand and sometimes they don't. And sometimes you're trying to transmit messages to cultures within cultures, or what we
Mm,
call subcultures.
okay.
So it's very important that whenever we're trying to get that message through, we take into consideration the combination, we call it in philosophy contingency. There are
Okay.
many
Good.
things
Good.
changing in there, and you're bringing a product or a message into that contingency. Let's make sure that that message is clear and what you
Excellent.
provide is true and it's clear, and you could actually respond to your clients. You could actually say, yes, this is the product, this is what I promised you, and if I do not hold my promise, you could come back and you could bring back or whatever. But make sure that that message is clear, because people are going to develop trust. Do not appeal to force. Do not threaten
Oh,
people.
yes.
Well, my product is the best, and if you don't want my product, da da da. No. And that's another way that people try to convince others. Make sure that you have the information. Sometimes we come up with loaded questions, like in the argument by ignorance, which is a fallacy in philosophy. In this example here, you see evidence homeschooling is bad. Well, there's none. Why? Because they are hiding something. See, instead of using information, people are using a lack of information to come up with a conclusion.
And that's
Is your
manipulation.
right? Can I have a service or a product that is so solid, the way I show it to you and the way it is, those two things together, that nobody could say, no, you know what? This is a good product. It did what is it promised that it was going to do. Because people could say many things, like here, an example with the media, they could say stuff, but in a real world, you need to prove, you need to bring solid arguments.
That's amazing. One of the things that
And some, oh,
is very
the person.
oh
And then instead of coming with a good argument, we are offensive toward the argument. See what I'm saying? So in philosophy, you need to build arguments. Like if you're going to build business, you need to build real business. They cannot be based only on your dream of having this business. Again, the reason why I brought to the example of the bookstore is because I'm a book lover. So one day I was thinking, wow, I would love to be in a bookstore every day. Why don't I open a bookstore? Wait a minute. Let's see reality. Amazon, used books,
exactly.
people, da da da. Oh, wait. One thing is to have that dream of being in a bookstore every day, and another thing is to open a business selling books. You need to be aware that these things happen. Analogies, when you bring in your product and you're comparing your product with something, make sure that the analogy holds. I have suggestion, Linus. Why don't you let me try to find some sort of substitute for your blanket? So here's Charlie Brown presenting a business opportunity. Maybe I could get you a dish towel or something. And then he says, would you give a starving dog a rubber bone? So make sure
That's
make sure
perfect.
that whatever you're providing for, I gave you the example of fast foods in Puerto Rico,
Yes.
fast American fast foods, and how they make sure that they provide products within their product, the original product. They provide things within that say we are here in Puerto Rico and we're providing these products to you. Why? Because they respect the community, they study the community, and they say we want to sell this product. We want people to buy it, but people won't buy it unless they identify with it. So in a way, you have to reason, and sometimes we just try to force our argument. You are lying to me because of the person you are. And that's why I said to you that there's a difference between actually listening to the argument. There's no argument here.
No.
She's just saying, you're an idiot, and that's why what you're saying is not true. And sometimes our approaches to what we want to sell could fall there because of the fact that we are not transmitting the right message.
Mm,
What does the word mean? What do we mean when we say we are going to be happy with a happy meal? Another one that I love is the value meal. It's called a value meal. Think about it, because we're always looking for values. So my challenge, or Protagoras' challenge, many things prevent knowledge, including the obscurity of the subject and the brevity of human life. Make sure that whenever you approach an idea, you approach that idea with strong convictions within good information and building up for a good argument. And that's what philosophy is trying to do. Philosophy is trying to help us make the right decisions based on the information that we have when there's no specific final answer. There are certain things that you could actually, do you prefer chocolate or vanilla? You know, those are easy questions.
Sure.
But whenever you have to decide, how big is this risk? Am I willing to take it? And why this idea is going to be good, not only in my head, but for the community, then we need to think about those things. So that's a little bit of my challenge. I hope that the experience in this brief time was good for us to think about ideas and things that we want to do. If there's any questions or anything else.
Well, I'm going to make an observation here. Philosophy has been around forever. That I'm sure is a fact. And people that study philosophy, I don't think there's enough of them, because philosophy, as we learn today, is part of your everyday life. It is not something that's up here in the clouds. And for years, people never related philosophy to decision making or how to present information. So what you've done today is you have enlightened us on the importance of having some awareness of how philosophy impacts every area of your life, all your decision making, and business specifically. And like you said earlier, cultural. Everything today has to do with culture, because we're now a global society. We're no longer local. We're no longer just working in Miami with people from Miami. Now we're working for people globally. And their philosophy about certain lifestyles, the way they eat, the way they live, is totally different from anybody else. And that's pure philosophy, I would think. So your information has invaluable. It's invaluable.
Yes, thank you. We're always selling to the human being.
Yes.
That's the fact. That's the factor within whatever business. Even if you sell things for animals, you are selling it to the owner of the animal.
No question.
So you're always selling to the human being. So the human beings have something to bring to these conversations, and it's important that we take care of that. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
This is only the beginning. There's so much more we can do with your presentation to help people, because it really helps people when they understand all of the things you pointed out. There's so many areas that we can help in that. When people call me and do surveys, the first thing they tell me is there's no right or wrong answer. So what does that tell me? They just want to hear my philosophical idea on the survey, but they tell you there's no right or wrong answer. So don't be afraid to tell us what you think. And everybody's beginning to become more aware, and because of you, more and more people are going to be more philosophical.
I hope so.
Philosophical. I'm going to be very philosophical. They're going to say, what are you talking about?
I want to emphasize the fact that you just said that philosophy is for us, for everyone. It's not for the academy only.
No.
It's for people making decisions every day. It's asking the hard questions and actually saying, I know why I've chosen this, although many people don't agree. But at least I know why I choose this thing here.
That's fantastic. Yeah. We're going to promote this for a long time, because I want people to learn this. This is a very important topic in society today. So we're going to be announcing it to people to read it and listen to you. And hopefully we can even get an article for you for the magazine. So we'll reach out to you for that, because people need to know what you did. We thank you so much. We thank Energy Mendez for making this possible, as always. It's just a fantastic job that Energy Mendez does to help the community in general. We appreciate you and all you do.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for being there. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.